But let's rehash some of the stuff that's already happened. The trade deadline begins with the Celtics trading, at least from the Celtics point of view, trading PJ Dozier and Bol and a future second-round pick and cash to the Magic for a future second. That gets them under the tax, which was, at the time, we thought might be the only move that the Celtics made. We thought also that might have opened up the possibility of a Dennis Schroeder trade, which as of yet has not happened. Then the kind of big shoe drops here. The Celtics traded Josh Richardson. At first, we thought just Josh Richardson straight up to the Spurs for Derrick White. As it turns out, they also threw in Romeo Langford, a first, and a pick swap in 2028. So whatever, that was what happened. We'll spend a lot of time talking about that. We're curious to see if another move happens. In between those two things, the other huge story, the huge story nationally, obviously much bigger than anything the Celtics are going to do, but again, to a Celtics audience, that's debatable, is the Nets traded James Harden to the 76ers for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks, which honestly, Bobby, you and I both thought that this trade was going to happen. I am surprised at the haul that the Nets got from Philly, considering Harden had basically signified that I am absolutely done with everything. So that is a bit surprising. We will get to that, but we're going to start with the Celtics because, again, that's what we're here to do, and we want to. This is a landscape-altering deal, this Harden-Simmons one. I think makes both teams, especially if Harden re-signs in Philly, better for the foreseeable future, and certainly better this year, particularly if a vaccine mandate gets lifted and Kyrie Irving becomes a full-time player. That's going to be a really interesting team over there. But let's start with the Richardson stuff, and Bobby, we'll just start at zero. I know we've talked a lot about this, but my take, very expensive. Might make them better. We will see. I'm a little worried that Romeo Langford is going to turn into something, and you've sold as low as you possibly could. I'm a little worried that you just aren't making draft picks anymore, and that's a really important part of building a roster, and I'm just confused why the Celtics don't seem to value it. But, Bobby, you like the player, so start in on that.
I love the player, and I didn't think a player like this was attainable. For even trading Marcus Smart, never mind trading Josh Richardson, who, as I said on Sunday, should have been used to trade up into a better player, and that's what they did here. Now, you need picks to sweeten the deal? All right, fine. You know how I feel about picks. They're expendable. You get a good player instead of a lottery ticket in the late round, and Lord knows 2028 is well beyond what any of us are thinking about here, never mind Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And then you move on from Romeo Langford, which I think was due. I think he wore out his welcome here over 3 years. They saw what he was capable of. He got that 30-minute run per game for about a week or two there, and he averaged, 5-6 points a game? Good defender, but you can find that. And this also, I think, thrusts Aaron Nesmith up the rotation for now. We'll see what the next shoe to drop is, because the fit here next to Marcus Smart, I think, is a little dubious. But this guy is your point guard. He's a connector. He's a guy that gets to different spots on the floor. He moves downhill. And what I love most is that Ime Udoka has a history with him. World Cup team, playing with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, as well as Marcus Smart on that roster. But you still need a shooter. You lose one of your 2 shooters in Richardson. Your shooting depth at the bottom of the roster is questionable. But for now, you went out there and you paid the price of what it takes to get that point guard that you wanted. Is he ideal? No. Is he DeJounte Murray? No. But this is what you could get right now, so and I think it's a great move.
Let me ask you that, Bobby. As you say, the point guard they needed. Now, I'm confused. Is he an elite playmaker, and is he an outstanding shooter?
Elite? No, but he's very good, and it's his mindset. Shooting? We'll see. What was the career number? Mid-30s, low 30s, yep. 31 this year. So he's in that Smart territory.
Again, it's a combo guard who can't shoot, which you have. And again, so this is where I'm not going to get – I will reserve some judgment here. But if it's a better playmaker than Smart and fits with the Jays better, that's fine. What I am confused by is I've been led to believe by – a lot of people that Marcus Smart is the point guard this team needs, and that an upgrade would have to be into a truly next level pure point guard sort of thing. And I feel like you've just gotten another combo guard here who I believe is a natural better playmaker than Smart. But I don't know how much better it is for your offense there is a bit of redundancy. You still have Dennis Schroeder, and you still haven't solved shooting problems. It is definitely a high price to pay. I guess what I'll ask is if he's an upgrade over Smart, and we talked about this is he your starter?
That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Do you move away from double big and break that lineup up? That seems to be the only way to solve this beyond sending White right to the bench. Now, allow me to do something risky here because we do only have 8 minutes. This could look stupid
theoretical
in 20
trades.
minutes.
Yeah, here you go. Make it happen.
When the clock hits 0 and Marcus Smart's still here, I might have to hear something. But I think there's a chance in the next 8 minutes Marcus Smart could be moved for a shooter. We obviously
have not heard a whisper. This would be a real out of nowhere.
Did we hear a whisper on White?
Yep. No, so, you didn't. You didn't.
So I think Brad's working in quiet a lot here, and there were obviously diversions too. Oh, the Celtics are done. They're not taking talks for Richardson. They have a high price here, and obviously they did get a lot.
I love that. That's better than the stuff that's being thrown out there, which we've obviously learned you can't fully trust.
Yeah, so I am very interested in seeing if Smart's still here in 8 minutes, just because I'm not sure the fit between these two guys, especially playing with the Jays, and you keep Schroeder in the equation too. That's a backcourt that just like the last one, theoretically couldn't shoot, and Richardson ended up being a better shooter than you expected. Now, on White's shooting, playing in San Antonio where there wasn't a bunch of floor spacing or even an emphasis on shooting threes, they shot the most mid-rangers in the league by far. I'm interested to see what he looks like playing off Brown, Tatum. There'll be better looks, and his free throw percentages this year in particular, 90%. So that worked out for Richardson. They felt he's got the free throw stroke. Does that translate with good quality looks into better three-point shooting?
That's what I always like. Guys who shoot close to 90% from the free throw line, and he is that guy. You always feel like, that's there. Like it's a great indicator of like, yeah. He's got a stroke.
Usually is.
But then again, Marcus Smart's always been, you look at Jaylen Brown as a dead-eye, jump shooter and three-point shooter, and he's 70-something in his career from the line. And Marcus Smart is a far better free throw shooter and cannot dial it in from deep. So, and again, Smart's in the 80s. But anyway.
Smart had some trouble early on, though. He's gotten better. That wasn't natural for him coming in.
I do think in terms of natural, someone on our spaces mentioned, and I thought it was a really good point. Spurs fan joined our chat. We were on Twitter Spaces a short while ago and said, White was asked to do more than he should do. So therefore his efficiency numbers are low, but also so might his overall scoring numbers be a bit low. So I don't know if he's coming over here and being instantly a 15-point per game guy, unless he's playing heavy minutes. But he might be more efficient and therefore might get better looks, particularly considering you've got two guys that they didn't even come close to having in terms of offensive threats on the floor. With Tatum and Brown on San Antonio, like DeJounte, Murray is nice, but he's not those guys. So obviously way less attention is going to be paid to him here than was there.
My thinking is he starts on the bench, barring a Smart move, just to see how it works, let him command that unit, stagger with the Jays and such, and keep that starting lineup rolling that they have in place right now. That would probably make the most sense right off the bat, even if you do eventually end up in a spot where White's playing better. And, some players do thrive in six-man roles. That's certainly something he could do. He could close games next to Smart in spots, I'd assume, even though the shooting there's shaky. With 3 roster spots open right now, the Schroeder thing still hanging around, there's got to be something in the next 5 minutes here. It would be very confusing.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
But even if you don't solve it today, Smart sign long-term, White sign long-term, you can readdress it in the summer. I love that about White. I didn't mention that yet here, is that he signed through 2025 at $17 million.
Bobby, filibuster for 30. Bobby, you got to run the show for 30 seconds. Be right back.
Yeah, so if we're looking at White's contract, pointing it out toward 2025, you're basically looking at a guy who is making $15 million right now, caps out at $19 million by the end of it. No player option, no team option. He's in complete team control up until that point. So you have that with Smart. If you need to go back and look at some things for him this offseason, you can do that. It's getting tight now, though. We're 5 minutes away, 4 minutes away?
4 minutes.
It would be a last-minute bombshell if
Stuff
Smart's out of
comes in.
here.
I mean, Tice came in after the bell last
Yeah,
year.
so it's more likely we see Schroeder come through after the bell, right?
Right, especially if Schroeder at this point is straight up like, take him off our hands because we got no use for him, and he's not coming back next year. And I have the minutes I want to give to. Now, what's funny is when the first move went through, it gave you Schroeder leverage because it was like, I don't have to worry about tax as much, and you could have actually looked for an upgrade at the position. Now, Schroeder's just a guy who you don't actually necessarily want to give minutes to. Because you now have another person coming in at the point guard spot who's not an asset for the future. So now it opens up the possibility of taking on a really low salary and a second round pick.
So Cleveland has Schroeder interest. I know you didn't like the package that would theoretically be
No, but
coming
I mean
back.
that was again, if you believe you've upgraded talent in the White move, then you can trade Schroeder. I wouldn't be stunned if they traded Schroeder for not anything that's going to help them.
For depth, yeah. I saw
Not
Cam
even
Reddish,
depth, not even depth, just relief.
like deep depth on the roster. Stuff
Deep,
that's not
deep.
going to play
How
until you.
if depth is too deep, Bobby, it's not really depth.
No, it's not. We're talking Dylan Windler.
I know.
Dylan Windler's interesting. He's been hurt a lot early in his career. He's a guy that can shoot the ball a little bit, play a wing spot. I'd imagine him ending up in like a Wancho role on this team, though, essentially. So, yeah, you're not getting anything really there. Dante DiVincenzo was an option early on. Unfortunately, it looks like they missed out on that. You would obviously circle back and consider that a little longer now, but he ends up as part of that 4-team deal earlier in the day. So what else is out there for Schroeder? There was a Troy Brown thing with Chicago. That's fine. Troy Brown's a guy that wouldn't need to play a lot unless there's an emergency. I'd go that route, maybe with a second-round pick. And then, of course, there was interest. I saw kicking around from the Knicks. And is Cam Reddish attainable? I know a lot of people got excited about that earlier. I haven't heard anything on that. If I had to guess, I think it's the Cleveland thing. I
Bobby,
still think they need enough depth. You
yeah,
saw it?
it's yeah. No, I'm just saying.
Oh, all right.
I just you need I just you were really,
I don't know where the shooting comes from.
you were
now.
at the point. This is where I'm trying to get at. You were really lucky. We talked about this on Spaces as well. Really, really, really lucky that despite not bringing in shooting in the offseason, that Grant, Richardson, and Schroeder all shot above expectations, okay? For as little shooting as they had, you had those three guys actually shooting at elite as terms of Grant, very solid for Richardson, and well above expectation for Schroeder from three, and you still felt you needed shooting, and you just downgraded, which is crazy.
Yeah, but there's a hierarchy of needs here. It's like star power, facilitating, shooting, depth.